What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the holiday edition of the DFS OGs podcast right here on RotoGrinders.com, talking everything Week 16. We'll take a quick look at the three-game Saturday slate, give you some quick thoughts there. Of course, break down the main slate and take a look back at last week. And speaking of last week, I can't bury the lead here. My man killed it out there. Getting a ton of questions, obviously, here from, about how does it feel, yada, yada. My man Chop takes down $1 million in the fan championship over on FanDuel. But surprisingly, Chop, everyone's asking me about your season-long team. They said this guy wins millions in his sleep. We want to know how that season-long team is. So, Chop, let's get over to you, buddy. I just want to be, not the first, but publicly come out and say congratulations. The thing I love about Chop, very humble guy. He's not going to come out here and do cartwheels and make a big deal about this. It's right back to work the next day. But $2 million prizes in the span of less than a year. Very, very impressive, my man. So glad you're on this show with us, propping me and Noto up here. But Chop, the floor is yours. Congrats. How we doing?
I appreciate it, man. I'm obviously doing okay, and everything's going well. But, what's the big difference between the first one and the second? I learned a lot of lessons with the first one as far as the way I went about winning it and the way I went about afterwards, the next 24 hours or so. Like, I try to keep it all under wraps. I don't like to, explain, a lot of things to a lot of people. I like to kind of keep everything to myself. And I learned a lesson, man. That really pissed a lot of people off. So I had to make sure I made my phone calls when the money hit the account. I had to make sure when everything was official. I had to call my mom and let her know, because I kind of put her off for a couple of days last time. That was not a good idea. I had to let my wife know nice and early, because I tried to put her off for a while last time, and that was definitely not a good idea. So the one thing is I haven't talked to my dad yet, and I know he listens to the podcast. So this might be the first time, by the time he hears this might be the first time he gets the news. But it's not my fault. Not my fault. I told my mom, I said, go ahead and tell Dad, go ahead and tell him, let him know. But she was like, no, he'll run off and tell everybody. So I'm not going to tell him. So this might be the first time he hears about it, but it's good. It's a good thing, man. And it's always fun, and it'll never get old. But I am there's two things here. Number one, I did lose the season long semifinal. I am mad about that, man. I am angry, boy. James put together a hell of a team on me, and he had the big guns going, so I couldn't compete with that. But I'm really anxious, man, because we got a little nugget teased on us on Twitter. I'm really anxious to see who went 10-1 in the picks last week.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, we had to get to the Millie first, but 10-1, quite impressive. So we'll get to that. No, we didn't forget about you, buddy. How is everything? How was Week 15? And welcome in.
Yeah, nobody needs to hear about my week. Chop, so happy for you, man. You've been one of the most respected DFS players out there for a very long time, and to stay at the top of your craft for that long, truly impressive. And, we admire your skills, but your humility is unmatched by anyone. So big congrats, well-deserved. So happy for you. And, looking forward to this week.
Absolutely. So obviously Christmas week, so kind of a weird week. So we do have a game on Friday. We're going to leave that one alone. You have plenty of coverage for that one over on RotoGrinders. Kind of weird having a Christmas Day football game. I mean, I'm not complaining, but generally that's an NBA game, an NBA day, and I know Noto's been busy getting ready for NBA. So if you haven't checked out RotoGrinders, make sure you do. NBA product is fantastic. Some of the best projections you're going to find. So not too late to get signed up for some premium over on RotoGrinders. So go check that out. NBA season actually starts as we record, a little 2-game appetizer here on Tuesday, and then a big 13-gamer on Wednesday leading into Christmas Day. So we'll leave that Christmas football game alone. Guys, let's really quick touch on the Saturday slate, though. We'll make a few betting picks, just kind of give an overview of things. We're not going to go game by game here. We'll focus on the main slate as we always do. But Noto, let's go to you, buddy. 3-game Saturday slate. Always a good time to have some football on a Saturday here. So just general thoughts here on the slate for Saturday.
Yeah, it's not the prettiest 3-game slate I've ever seen. The Dolphins and Raiders, not too excited about that one. The Niners and Cardinals, not too excited about that one. So I'm looking to load up on the Buccaneers and the Lions. We've seen the Buccaneers. They can put up points quickly. I know it's hard to, pick where Brady's going to go with the ball each and every game. But their defense has kind of shown some holes recently. So I like Stafford in that passing attack. And then, just hope that you get the right pieces from the Bucs. Obviously got to watch the Ronald Jones news. If he's out, Fournette's going to be a strong play again. I think he played on 65% of the snaps, got most of the work, all the goal line touches. And it seems like Tampa Bay, they always either get a defensive pass interference in the end zone or get tackled at the one. And then, those running backs always get those touchdowns. So that's the game I'm looking to be the most overweight on. And then the Miami situation, there's just so many injuries. And then the other play I like is Josh Jacobs. We know the Raiders want to run the ball. We know Miami, very good pass defense. So I think this is a spot for Jacobs to get 25-plus touches.
Yeah, I agree with you on the games as far as they're kind of ugly. Some of the totals, 47, 48, not terrible in those later games, but 53.5 in that first one. So clearly a spot. Detroit, we saw Tennessee pretty much do whatever they want to them through the air, on the ground. I think Tampa Bay obviously can find some similar success there. Other two games look close, so maybe stackable games. Chop, what do you got here for Saturday?
Yeah, it's some fun games. I think I'm going to focus on the Tampa-Detroit game. Tampa's shown that defense was a little bit overrated earlier in the year. They've shown some holes, let's put it like that. So I think Detroit can take advantage, and then that's going to force Tampa to play big and play fast, and that's always good. So that's the one I'm really focused on. The one I'm most apt to fade is the Miami-Las Vegas game because of I think the Dolphins feature a real good defense, and I think with Mariota at quarterback, which I would suspect that's the case, we're looking at a slow, sluggish game. So I think that's the game I'm most likely to fade the most parts from. And then the San Fran, Arizona kind of falls in the middle. I'm not stoked on it, but and Hopkins is always great though. You can always play Hopkins. You can always play Kyler. But the rest of those pieces, Ayuk is good, but it kind of falls in the middle for me. But I'm really, fantasy-wise, I'm going to focus big time on that Tampa-Detroit game.
Now, please tell me there's a DeAndre Hopkins jersey on the way, along with the washer and dryer to the Chop household. I mean, he was a big part of that build. So the jersey's got to be on the way, right?
It's hard to narrow it down to one guy. So I don't know, man. But I might, man. I was always a fan anyway, but you said washer dryer. I mentioned that the other day. Yeah, that was interesting. But last night, man, you win $1 million. Life still goes on. Right. And last night, cooking a little something in the microwave, and the thing fried out. My microwave fried out, man. So now I got to go out and replace this microwave. So life goes on when you're a dad, man.
I just love the what are you going to buy first with all your money? Well, first I'm going to pay Uncle Sam his cut, and then we're going to go from there. But washer and dryer, microwave, we are the old men. This is the kind of stuff that we got to take care of here. So
I don't know. I don't want to piss off the wrong people.
Hey, let's not worry about that. What do you got?
But what I wouldn't give to have these winnings and be 25 again. Let's just put it like that.
Oh yeah,
Ooh, buddy.
The millie will last a lot longer buying washers and dryers and microwaves than us being 25 again. But yeah, so let's do some betting picks here while we're here on this Saturday, real quick here. So Tampa Bay, Detroit, we got Tampa Bay -9.5, 53.5. Chop, we'll go to you first.
Detroit. I don't think Tampa's shown that they're ready to blow people out like that. So I'm going to take Detroit.
I'm going to go the over here, actually. The defense for Detroit's been bad. Tampa's showing some holes. I think there'll be some points in this game. So give me over 53.5. Derek.
I like Detroit as well. I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
All right, middle game. We got Arizona at home -4.5, 48.5. Derek, let's go to you.
At this point, I don't know. I guess I'll take the home team. Give me Arizona.
I'm going to go Arizona here as well. San Francisco didn't look great against Dallas. This is a tougher matchup. I know it's in division, but it felt like the Cardinals should probably be about 6-point favorites. So I'll lay the 4.5 here with Arizona. Chop.
This one is my over pick. I'll take the over. I think it squeaks by.
All right, let's wrap it up, Chop, with Miami and the Raiders. Dolphins, road favorites here, -2.5, 47.5 on the total.
Give me the Dolphins.
I will go under here. I don't know that Mariota can do it again. So tougher matchup here. Miami playing well defensively. I'll go under 47.5. Derek, what do you got?
We're all going different. I'll take the Raiders. I'm buying in on the Mariota hype.
All right, so we've been waiting for it. Let's take a quick look back at last week as far as the picks go. And Derek, we'll start with you, buddy. 6-5 on the week brings you to 82, 73-2. Chop, my man, 6-5.
Oh,
72 and 1. And your boy,
Yeah.
not quite $1 million, but it feels good to put a 10-1 on the board here. The only one I missed was the over in Houston and Indy. Still lagging behind, but did close the gap a little bit now at 74, 80, and 1. So a good weekend. If you played the two-teamer, we gave you Chicago, we gave you Tennessee. That was a winner. So hopefully some people got that little two-team parlay in there. So good to close the gap on you guys a little bit. But you two in a race here a couple weeks ago. I'll be interested to see who takes this thing down. So let's move on. Week 16 main slate here, guys. Let's start with Indy and Pittsburgh. Indy coming off that win against Houston. Pittsburgh, we saw on Monday night, look absolutely atrocious at Cincinnati, taking the L there. So no major injuries on the Indy side. Pittsburgh will keep an eye on the running back situation. James Conner expected back, but they're also saying he may not even be the guy if he comes back. Benny Snell looked pretty good there. Eric Ebron, we saw leave the game, so he's questionable here in a possible revenge spot. So it was Snell, it was Deontay Johnson getting his 13 targets like he does pretty much every single week. Indy side, ho-hum game. You know, they put up numbers. Jonathan Taylor looked good, but a tougher spot here against Pittsburgh. So, Derek, let's start with you here. Indy's kind of the same thing every single week. So many ways to go here. What stands out against Pittsburgh? And then what are you doing with the Steelers against this Colts defense?
Yeah, not the best game on the slate for DFS purposes. You know, we got two good defenses, pretty low total. And it's in Pittsburgh, always a place where you kind of expect the road team to struggle a little bit. Jonathan Taylor has kind of broke free from that timeshare in the backfield, played on 70% of the snaps last week. That was his season high. But it is a difficult matchup. So, I mean, I guess you can maybe take a few shares of him in large field tournaments. The Steelers do give up a big play now and then, so if you want to go to T.Y. Hilton, but it's not indoors. So I don't really love anyone on the Colts. The Steelers, look, we know the Colts want to keep everything in front of them, and the Steelers want that short passing game. So I think this is a great spot for Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. You know, Deontay Johnson, even though he hasn't been great, he has 12 targets per game over his last 7. And there's just going to be so many of those, you know, little 5-yard passes that I think on a site like DraftKings with the full PPR, they're going to have some big games. Regardless of who starts at running back, I'm probably not going to be too interested. We just haven't seen, you know, a ton of success on the ground from the Steelers. I know Benny Snell had a pretty good game on Monday night, but that was a much better matchup. And there's going to be another body in the rotation this week. So give me the short passing attack with Juju and Deontay.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I mean, those are really the two guys I'm looking at as well. The total pretty low here. Indy, I'm kind of out on. I mean, I've liked what I've seen out of Jonathan Taylor, but a road matchup with Pittsburgh, you still got other guys factoring in there. Easy pass for me there, but great call there. Deontay, Juju getting those short passes. And I got to give kudos to Cincinnati Bengals Twitter. I mean, that hit on Juju after he goes out and dances on their logo chop and then get absolutely blown up on that hit. And the Bengals Twitter account comes out and talks about how he got rid of the TikTok star, or I forget exactly how they put it, but pretty interesting. So your thoughts here? Agree, disagree in this game? Kind of ugly. Any diamonds in the rough here for you, Chop?
no diamonds in the rough. You know, you build your player pool on Sunday, and it doesn't have to include guys from every game. Sometimes they just don't make the cut. This is one of them. Like you said, Indy's pretty mundane, man. You really can't trust any of them. And there's not a ton of upside in any of them, so I can pass on Indy. And for Pittsburgh, Deontay's the only guy that I really like, and I don't even really like him. He's the only guy I'm even thinking about because that offense has looked pretty putrid lately. So I'm just really not interested in this game outside of maybe a little bit of Deontay.
All right, how about a betting pick? Colts -2 here on the road, 44.5 on that total.
Yeah, I want to say that Pittsburgh learned their lesson in rebounds, but, man, I just think they're kind of in a free fall right now. And I'll pile on and take Indy here, man. Tough. Yeah. It's tough, but I'll take them.
I had the same thoughts. I'm like, Pittsburgh's got to respond here, but they look bad, and they had a little bit of a push in that game. It felt like the momentum was going to switch, and then, right back to bad. So I think Indy piles it on here as well. I think a lot of people would take the points with Pittsburgh, but I'm going to go with Indy minus the 2. Derek.
This is ugly. My first thought was Steelers, just like you guys, but you're talking me off of them, so I will take the under.
All right, under 44.5 for Noto. Moving on, a better game, the highest total we have on the board this week. Atlanta traveling to Kansas City. Atlanta, they just find a way to lose. I mean, they were up big in that game, and again, they blow it. I saw some graphic. There's like 7 games, obviously including the Super Bowl, few games this season, where they've been up big in the third, fourth quarter and giving it away. But old Noodle Arm came and got it done, and now a road game in Kansas City is nothing to sneeze at here. So again, big total here. Chiefs coming off that big win in New Orleans. A lot of injuries in this one. Julio Jones remains questionable. We've talked about, are they going to shut him down for the season? They have not committed to that, but I don't know that we get Julio back here. But if we do, a decent price here. We saw Calvin Ridley go nuts in that game without Julio. It's kind of done that a lot without Julio. Gage looked solid. Hayden Hurst found the end zone. Matt Ryan looked good. Kansas City side, CEH, doubtful for this one. So Le'Veon Bell, 5,800 here. Looked decent last week. Tough matchup against Atlanta. Any interest there? And the rest of the guys, Mahomes, Tyreek, Kelsey, they did their thing, but no one really broke the slate last week. So Chop, we'll go to you here, buddy. We always talk about the Chiefs. We always talk about these prices. Any lean there against Atlanta? And then what are we doing with the Falcons here as big underdogs on the road in Arrowhead?
Yeah, I like this game quite a bit on both sides. Atlanta, I mean, I think they're going to be forced to throw the ball a lot. We didn't want the backfield anyway, so that's good. And they're going to be forced to throw the ball a lot. And I think there's going to be a lot of meat on the bone for anybody, whoever plays. If Julio plays, Calvin, fine. And if Calvin is by himself again, man, he's one of the best, man, when Julio's not around. So, yeah, fire them all up. I like that passing game. And KC is the same. I mean, they should be able to really take advantage of this secondary and name their score if they want to through the air. But I got a feeling they'll do some running a little bit. On a side note, like CEH went out last week, and that's a rough injury. But then Lev kind of took over the backfield. And I really didn't think I was going to win that game. Coming down the stretch of that last game was KC, New Orleans, and I was fading Kamara. I was fading like 2 points out of Kamara, right? Like that's impossible to fade. And I thought I didn't think I was going to win, and Le'Veon Bell took that handoff, man. And for the first time in like 3 years, he looked like Le'Veon Bell, and he kind of felt out the blocking. He's got that patented style, man, where he looks for his linemen and lets them set up their block, and then he explodes, and he exploded for that first down. He looked great for the first time. So I got a roster from Le'Veon Bell this week because he iced it for me last week. I'll take it.
You can afford to toss a few dollars on Le'Veon this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, kudos to DraftKings once again. They were on top of the pricing, and, if Le'Veon's 4,200 like he's been, everyone's playing him. 5,800, Derek, you got to think about it a little bit. So the matchup, not great. Atlanta's been good against the run, but big home favorites here. Generally a spot we want our running backs. We know he can be involved in the passing game. So the other 3 are easy. You play Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek. What are you doing here with Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, I can see both sides of the argument. I faded Leonard Fournette last week in the same matchup, and then he ended up getting 2 one-yard touchdowns, so that was a little frustrating. But, I mean, you definitely want to exploit this defense through the air, and it's hard not to like Patrick Mahomes. You have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill both in the mix for the receiving title. So I'm more apt to load up on the passing game. I know they are pretty big favorites, but the best way to attack the Falcons is through the air. So I'll have some shares of Le'Veon, but I'll probably have more shares of Mahomes, Kelce, Tyreek. And then the other side, I think Chop mentioned it. Anytime Julio's out, you play Calvin Ridley. In 6 starts without Julio, he's averaging 112 receiving yards and 24 fantasy points per game. And then Russell Gage over the last 3, he scored a touchdown in all 3 of them, 25 targets during that stretch. So I think you play both of them. I think you can stack this game a number of ways. And, maybe as a sneaky flyer, play some Chiefs defense, with your Le'Veon Bell lineups just in case Matt Ryan struggles on the road a little bit.
Yeah, don't hate that at all. And, Gage also in play. Hurst, like I mentioned, found the end zone, but Ridley's the guy when Julio's out. So price is up to 8,500, second most expensive receiver on the slate. So if you try a stack here, it may get a little expensive, but he's certainly towards the top of the list. And Derek Chop's going to disagree with being disappointed in Leonard Fournette. That was a part of that lineup. So funny how this game works. Some people need a guy, some people fading a guy, and just interesting how it all plays out. So let's go to the betting window here. Derek, Kansas City, big favorites as we'd expect, minus 11 here at home. Big total at 54.
There's some crazy number on the Chiefs playing at home and the unders hitting, but I like both offenses, so give me the over.
I'm going to go Atlanta here. It's a lot of points. They're playing with some confidence. The defense is playing well. They're not going to stop Kansas City, but if they can slow them down a little bit, keep this close, even without Julio, I'll take the Falcons with the 11. Chop, what do you got?
I think a lot of passing, and passing is definitely beneficial to the over. So give me the over.
All righty, moving on. Next game, Cleveland taking on another New York team here in the Jets, coming off a win. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I don't think anybody saw that coming except the guy who parlayed Cincinnati and the Jets money line. I saw somebody pulled that off. So not quite $1 million like Chop, but big money there. But nonetheless, the Jets coming off that huge win against the Rams. Nothing really stood out statistically. I mean, we saw Ty Johnson get involved. Saw Frank Gore, 23 carries for 59 yards. I mean, is there a more Frank Gore box score than that? Crowder, 8 targets. Cleveland side, kind of the same thing. Baker looked good, but really spread the ball out. Landry was all right. Hooper was all right. The running backs were kind of in that game. So, Chop, your turn here. Cleveland's getting it done, and we've seen big games out of Baker. We've seen big games out of the running back. So which way do you lean here against the Jets? Obviously, the passing game is the way to attack them. And can we do anything with the Jets, even coming off that win? Anything there as a run back, a one-off? Any interest in the Jets at all?
No interest in the Jets. I just can't get behind that offense at all. Even coming off of a fair game, fairly decent game against the Rams. I just don't. I don't get them, man. I don't understand what the point is there. You've got a chance at literally a generational quarterback, I think, and the best guy I've seen come out of college since way back when probably Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning came out or something like that. And you blow it, man. I think they blew it with that win. So that's pretty bad on their part, but I can't get behind their offense. And Cleveland they're good, but they're kind of boring for fantasy. You might get your one-off. It just doesn't look like a shootout. And if it's not a shootout type of game, then I don't want the passing games. You just may get your one-off touchdown out of one of the receivers or tight ends. Not very much from Mayfield. And they're going to dominate on the ground. So those are the two guys I'm looking at, Chubb or Hunt. Lately, it's been a whole lot more Chubb than Hunt. In the past, we've seen it flipped. So right now, I'll ride the hotter guy. That's Nick Chubb. And but both of them will be in my player pool, and that's who I like the most in this game.
I'm kind of out on this one. I mean, I'm trying to find something. Chubb is expensive. The Jets, again, better against the run. Hunt is cheap, but the workload's been kind of one-sided lately. So, Derek, your thoughts here? Any more interest? Chop is semi-interested in the Cleveland side. I'm pretty much out on this game. Where do you come out here, Browns and Jets?
Last week was a winning week for everyone. Bear, you went 10-1. Chop got the millie, and thanks to the Jets, my Jaguars are the front runners for the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. So, I'm pretty happy about that. I still can't believe they won that game. Although Doug Marrone came out today and said they're going to go out there and try to win, which would be very Jaguar-like. But anyway, I'm out on the Jets. They have no reason to win. If they win again, that'll all but secure the second pick for them. And then the Browns, I'm going to let ownership dictate what I do here. I know the Jets are better against the run than they are against the pass, but if the Browns are playing with a big lead, I'll take my chances with Nick Chubb in any matchup. And if it looks like the passing game is going to be low owned, then I'll take some shots on, Baker and Higgins and Landry. But overall, I think it's not my favorite game to target.
All right, how about a bet? Noto, Cleveland minus 9.5 here on the road, 47 on the total.
Ooh, I'll take Cleveland. I just think they're a much better team, but I believe the Jets have scored first in 6 straight games, so that's kind of a crazy stat.
Yeah, I think it's like even 8 or 9 games where
Oh,
they've
there you
scored
go.
on their first possession or something. It's just insane that they can do that and then just fall apart the rest of the game. So I'm going to go under the 47 here. I just think the Jets, that was their spirited effort. Yeah, I don't know how much effort they put into this one in Cleveland. If they had their druthers, they want to run the ball, run the clock out, play good defense. So 47 seemed a little bit too high here, under for me. Chop, what do you got?
Man, yeah. I mean, I came in thinking Cleveland, so I can't change it now. I got to go Cleveland.
All right, let's go to the other New York team, the Giants, coming off that loss against Cleveland. Just looked awful. I have nothing to say here about the Giants. It was all bad. Daniel Jones remains questionable. I don't know how much his return would help this offense, but can't be any worse here. Now you draw a tilt on the road with Baltimore. We're starting to put it together. We're starting to see Lamar Jackson look more like the guy we saw last season. Hollywood's getting involved. Andrews getting involved. Dobbins looks good on the ground. So Noto, clearly this one we're going to be more on the Baltimore side. So is it a Lamar game? Is it a Dobbins game? Do you worry about Edwards? And then anything to run it back on the Giants side?
Yeah, definitely more interested in the Ravens. Lamar Jackson certainly seems like he's back. I know he's had some easier matchups, but 27, 38, and 30 fantasy points the last 3 games. And Mark Ingram inactive last week. So we saw J.K. Dobbins lead the way with a 53% snap share. It's a game where they're going to be playing with the lead. So I like Lamar. I like Dobbins if his ownership's going to be reasonable. And you can always pair Lamar up with Andrews or Brown, but I just think this is a game where they're going to be able to control it. So give me the running game. Giants side, yeah, they've scored 13 points in the last 2 games combined. That is not great, but hey, they still have a 10% chance to win their division, so they still have a lot to play for. For me, maybe a little bit of Evan Ingram at 3,900, and that is about it.
Yeah, and even the Baltimore D, it's 4,000 here, but it's no matter who the quarterback is, you're going to get some turnovers. So maybe a pairing with Dobbins and the defense, but a lot of ways you can go here with Baltimore Chop. So you lean in the passing game, the running game, or you may be able to go both here against the Giants.
Yeah, pretty much every week I have a little bit of both for Baltimore. Lamar always stays in the pool, and I'll always he's a guy I always want to have Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews in the player pool with him, and I'll pair him with one of those guys, and it's kind of. And then usually I don't mess with the backs, but it's clear that they want to weed out Mark Ingram, so it's I'm a J.K. Dobbins fan, and he's in my hierarchy. Although I can see Gus Edwards obviously falling in the end zone if he gets laid the perfect script out there, but I'm J.K. Dobbins. But yeah, Lamar with those two target guys is where I go, and the Giants, man, just completely 100% off of that route.
I mean, they're running out multiple running backs now. Even their lone bright spot was Wayne Gallman. Well, now you got Deion Lewis getting carries, Alfred Morris stealing touchdowns, just a mess. And I'm Gus Edwards. I'd love to see this guy get a shot to be the guy. I mean, I'm Dobbins too. I'm a big fan of his. Own a ton of stock in dynasty leagues, but Gus Edwards just seems like one of those guys. If he got a shot, almost like who was the guy that went from the Chargers to the Falcons back in the day? Big running back. Turner.
Yeah, the burner, Michael the burner.
Mike, yes. He
yeah.
kind of was with the Chargers, didn't really do much, and then finally got a shot. That's what it feels like with Gus Edwards. So it doesn't really have much to do with this week, but I agree. Dobbins the way to go here. Pair him up with the Ravens D or any three of those passing options with Lamar, Marquise, or Andrews. Limited target tree there. We saw Dez get a touchdown. We saw Boykin. I know some guys will steal some touchdowns, but some easy pairing partners there for the Ravens. All right, Chop, Baltimore minus 10.5, total sitting at 45.
Oh, man, that's a big number. I like the Ravens. I'm going to say based on their defense, it goes under, though, so I'm taking the under.
I'm going Baltimore. I don't see any way the Giants stay competitive in this game. I know they've surprised us in spots, a game in Seattle, but I'm going Baltimore here. Derek.
I'm going Baltimore as well.
All right, moving on. Cincinnati coming off that big win against Pittsburgh, going to Houston, who took that tough loss at Indy. No major injuries on the Houston side of things. Cincinnati Brandon Allen, questionable. I don't know that he'd be the quarterback anyway. Finley didn't do much, but he looked good. He looked good on the ground. I think he showed a little bit more athleticism than a lot of people thought. Mixon remains on the IR, and Tyler Boyd, I know, hurt a lot of people last night, both in Showdown and your season-long playoffs, going out early with a concussion. So he is obviously listed as questionable here for this matchup. So, Chop, we'll go to you here. Houston, big favorites. Cincinnati coming off a spirited win here. You give them any shot here on the road in Houston?
Well, yeah, they get a shot because Houston's just not good. So, and I think we're going to see this week, haven't looked closely. We do this early, but I think we're going to see the projection on Houston's defense jump off the page. And I'm not sold on that at all, even with a bad Cincy offense. So that's one I may be avoiding. But here is the get back spot for Brandon Cooks. Everybody's been on Brandon Cooks since all the wide receiver injuries. He got hurt. He had tough matchups. This is the one I think where he kind of bounces back and comes through. So I like Brandon Cooks quite a bit in this game, and Deshaun to erupt in this game. I like those offensive pieces. I'm not falling for David Johnson and those 10 catches. I'm not falling for that one. Just give me the passing game here of Deshaun and his targets. And on the flip side, because the Houston defense just isn't good, I think there's merit to playing T. Higgins and Giovanni Bernard. And, oh, man, I don't know if I could pull the trigger on
Don't forget about it. Don't forget A.J. Green.
I intentionally didn't say that because I don't want to mislead people. I don't know how much A.J. Green I can have, but I think there's room for Cincy to do something against a really bad defense here. I mean, so I'm more apt to play some Cincy players than I am to play the Houston defense. So that's where I am on that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Houston is not a good team. So yeah, they're big favorites here. And Cincinnati, say what you will. Like I said, Finley didn't do much. People are. I saw a bunch of his cards suddenly flood the market shop last night, looking around, and all you saw was Ryan Finley rookie cards all of a sudden. But he wasn't that good. But to a Houston team where the defense is bad, and I know it's a road game, I kind of agree with you. Now, as far as Cincinnati, I don't know how much interest I have here, Derek. Maybe a T. Higgins. We joke about A.J. Green. He's 3,400. It would obviously take Tyler Boyd being out to even go down that path. But your thoughts here, Houston and Cincinnati?
Houston side, agree with Chop. Avoid the running game and just load up on Deshaun Watson, Kiki QT, Brandon Cooks. They've had 3 difficult matchups in a row. They faced the Colts twice, and then they faced the Bears in Chicago. Now they get the Bengals at home, so love the spot for this passing attack. And then, the Bengals, it's such a good matchup, but I just don't know what to do. I mean, Giovanni Bernard was held under 10 fantasy points in 5 straight games and broke out for 25 last week against the Steelers, and he's only 4,800. So I don't know if people are going to play him. I don't know if people are going to, think that's fool's gold. I'll probably let ownership kind of dictate what I do there because he was kind of getting, splitting backfield with 3 other guys. So, I don't know what to want to do there. But if Boyd's out, it's easy to play T. Higgins. I'll have some shares of A.J. Green as well. It's just such a good matchup that you feel like you should have, some interest in the Bengals.
Don't forget about old Stonehands. Jordan Akins brought in 5 of 6 targets last week. And we know tight ends against Cincinnati has been a profitable venture. So only 3,300 there. But a lot of ways you can pair up Watson and some of these pass catchers here. Gio, I'm pretty much with you, Derek. I want to see where the ownership is on him because he was treated like a workhorse. We thought we'd see some of those other guys, P. Ryan, Williams in the mix, and we just didn't get it. It was all Gio. So if ownership's low, I don't hate pulling the trigger against a bad Houston run D at under 5K. So betting pick here, Derek. Houston, big favorites here at home, -8.5, 45.5 on the total.
Hate both these defenses, so give me the over.
I feel like this is a little bit of recency bias, but I liked what I saw out of Cincinnati. It's a lot of points. I don't think Houston's that good, so I'll take Cincy plus the 8.5. Chop.
I also want the over.
All right, moving on. No consensus picks yet, so no parlays yet. We'll see. We got 5 games remaining, still in the early window, and we'll close that window here with Chicago. In Derek's Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago, big win in Minnesota. Offense continues to look good. They're just putting up 30-point games left and right with Mitchell Trubisky and David Montgomery been the story. So Let's talk about him, Derek. Another good matchup here. The price continues to rise, but is the price even high enough at this point? Jacksonville, only injury of note, James Robinson dealing with an ankle injury, so he is listed as questionable. So your team here, I know you want them to lose, but what happens here, Bears and Jags?
Yeah, if the Jaguars end up winning this game, it's going to be a two-man booth on the OG pod next week. I refuse to show up. Hopefully Doug Marrone doesn't get his guys fired up enough. Hopefully management just, pays him under the table to just not win this game. I mean, I like James Robinson, but he's dealing with an ankle injury like you mentioned. So I'm going to be fading all things Jaguars in this one. For the Bears, we talk about it a lot. They have a very concentrated offense. It goes through Trubisky, David Montgomery, Allen Robinson. I know we've seen Mooney get involved. Cole Kmet was pretty popular last week. He's still only 3K. I have interest in him. But it's hard not to like Montgomery, man. 28, 27, 28, and 32 fantasy points over the last 4 games. The offensive line's playing a lot better. The Jags, you can certainly beat them on the ground or through the air. So I like a lot of things on the Bears, and they actually have a pretty good chance to make the playoffs if they win this week, and then they'll face the Packers next week, who might not have anything to play for. So, I like all things Bears and very few things Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you. And Montgomery, 32 carries last week. And we've seen running backs, mainly Derrick Henry, just trample this team week in and week out. So 7,700, I don't think it's enough, Chop. I know he was a big part of your builds as well. So I expect that. You can just build a whole wall of jerseys of guys in the $1 million lineup. So Montgomery, though, was good to you. Are you going back to the well here against Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think you have to. And, I have to say this. I have to get this out there because another guy got mad at me here last night when he heard the video I did. Kirk Deese, our boy Kirk Deese, Chris Kirkwood, good buddy of mine. We're always chatting it up in Discord. He's the first one here recently who was jumped on that Montgomery train, right? So the David and I said the first part of the year, man, I'm not playing Montgomery. He sucks. It's not that he sucks. The offensive line was bad, but when the offensive line started playing better, Montgomery came around. He's always been good, and he's young enough. It's not like he lost his juice. David Montgomery, I said David Montgomery is electric. He's electric, but, I'm not the first one to say it. Was Kirk Deese who said it first, and he got mad that I said it and didn't give him credit. So, Kirk, I'm giving you your credit. He said the David Montgomery slander has to end, and I think it's ended now. He's proven himself to be very electric. So, Montgomery, jump on him. Price, like you said. This isn't like as of now, we don't know the value that's going to happen if there's any injuries. Like those injuries last week broke really late, so we didn't even know. But as of now, I'm not seeing like a ton out there at running back anyway. So, yeah, jump on him. I like David Montgomery call. And, this week I'll have a lot of Allen Robinson, I'll have as much Robinson as I will Montgomery, though, because I love this this little narrative street here, man, going back to Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on Allen Robinson big time this week, and even if it's Trubisky throwing him the ball, I'm fine with that. I think Robinson has a big one. So those are the 2 stars. Montgomery, Robinson, I'm into. Jacksonville, the run backs, James Robinson, solid. You can play James Robinson. These wide receivers are not getting it done, though, so that's the only big run back I see is James Robinson.
Are we a believer in Mitch Trubisky? I mean, we've kind of seen up and down games. Generally, he's better at home, but only 5,700 gives you a little bit of upside with his legs, and it's got this offense playing well. So do you feel good about the pairing with Robinson, or is it just A-Rob on his own?
I think that I'm not a believer in him, but fantasy-wise, you just said it. He can get it done. So, and he's had like the murderer's row of cupcake matchups. Like you don't get much better than what he's had. So, and this is another one. So sure, he can put on some points. I don't mind that pairing, but I'll definitely have A-Rob on his own in some places too.
I can't believe I forgot that narrative. Way to bring that up, Chop. I'm usually on the narrative train, so I'm a big fan there of that. And Montgomery, the thing is, he's gotten it done a lot of different ways. I mean, we saw the 32 carries last week. Only 11 the week before that, but we know he had a long 80-yard touchdown. We've seen him catch 4 or 5 balls in a week, so he's just so involved in such a good matchup. So don't scoff at a $7,700 price point. He probably should be $8,500 if we're being honest here. So a big fan of David Montgomery. All right, Chop, let's go to you. Bears -7.5 here, 47 on the total.
I think Jacksonville is smart enough to lay down now and take that number 1 pick. So I think the Bears roll them.
I think so as well. I'm going to be interested to see what they do at the quarterback position. Do they go down the depth chart a little bit? Maybe sit the stash down. Not that he's been good, but they got worse on that team down the quarterback pecking order. So I'm going to take Chicago here as well. I just think Jacksonville's got to be smart about this. I know it's pro athletes, and you know we're going to hear about people saying teams aren't just going to lose, but the organization's got to do what's best for the organization, and that's Trevor Lawrence. So. Long way of saying I'll take the Bears -7.5. Derek.
I should really bet on the Jaguars money line for a life hedge here. But I will take the Bears -7.5.
All right. Chop, you took the Bears, right?
I thought the Bears would roll them, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Our first consensus play here for week 16. All right, moving on to the afternoon slate. So we had 6 early games. We got 4 late. We'll start with Carolina and Washington. Carolina hung in there in Green Bay. I mean, we went down early and made a comeback, but came up a little bit short. Washington, tough loss to Seattle, obviously. So injuries mainly on the Washington side. Alex Smith, day to day. We'll see if he's back. Dwayne Haskins out there at the strip club. Derek just having a good time. So we'll see how that plays out. But Antonio Gibson, questionable. And then like we talk about every single week, Christian McCaffrey, does he return? Does he not return? Against his former coach. Let me throw a narrative in there. But if he's back, interest in paying that price. But interesting game here, kind of a low total, Derek. What do you got? Panthers and the football team.
Yeah, I don't really see the need to bring Christian McCaffrey back at this point, but the Panthers are hoping he can practice on Wednesday, so hopefully we know his status before Sunday so we can make a decision there. I highly doubt they'd give him 25-plus touches like they did the last time he came back and got injured again, but I guess you never know with the Panthers. I just don't have a ton of interest in their offense as a whole. It's a tough spot. Washington, one of the best defensive front sevens in the NFL, so we probably have more interest in their defense than I would in the Panthers offense. And then the other side of the ball, just waiting to see if Alex Smith is able to suit up. You mentioned Haskins out there partying. Without a mask, no less. So, yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the guy. It sounds like they're not releasing him, but we just got to wait and see with pretty much the whole offense. If it's Smith back there and Gibson's out, then J.D. McKissic becomes an awesome play. He's played on over 70% of the snaps the last 2 games. We know Alex Smith likes to check it down to him. And then the receiving options, we can either buy low on Terry McLaurin or buy high on Logan Thomas, who had a monster game last week. I know Alex Smith, Haskins, these guys, they want to check the ball down, but I have some interest in Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas has looked good. McLaurin is always a guy in my player pool. And DJ Moore came back. Robbie Anderson, I think, is a decent bounce back. But Chop, Haskins out here like he won the fan championship last week. So what's up with your boy Haskins? And what do you got in this one, Panthers and Washington?
It's a interesting game considering where Washington is right now. Man, I still can't fathom the NFC East and where we are. In Washington, I really think they're going to win it. I think they are the best team right now. But then you look at it and the freaking Cowboys, out of all things, man, 1 game back, and they're really going to push for this stupid division title when they should be getting a top 5 draft pick, man. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, Washington, to me, the big takeaway for me last week with Washington was Logan Thomas. I kind of thought he'd go back into his hole with Dwayne Haskins as the quarterback, but Logan Thomas came out even further and did even more with Dwayne Haskins there. So Logan Thomas might be he's just a really nice tight end, period. So fire up to Logan Thomas. Terry McLaurin is matchup proof, and he's almost quarterback proof. You'd rather have him be in better spots, but you take him regardless. So we're there at that. I don't want the backfield. I don't want Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins. So those are the 2 guys I want for Washington. And then on the other side, we'll wait and see what McCaffrey does. I'm probably not playing him at that price tag. The wide receivers are all healthy now. They're back. It's tough. It's a tough matchup. I honestly just don't see very much I like on that Carolina side.
All right, how about a betting pick you like? Washington -2, 44.5 on the total.
Man, they just got such a good defense. I'm going to go with Washington.
I'm taking Washington -2 as well. This is a big game for them. I don't expect McCaffrey back. If he is, I'm with you guys. I don't want to pay that price for him. If he beats me, so be it. But I just think Washington's game is so big for them that they pull it out here. So Washington -2. Derek, what do you got?
Feels like a trap spread. I mean, it feels like Washington should win this one pretty easy given their motivation. But yeah, I'll take Washington.
All right, another parlay builder here. So circle that one. All right, moving on. Denver and the Chargers. Denver blown out in the last game against Buffalo. No injuries on their side. Chargers, big win. A great game. That game in Vegas, back and forth game. Chargers end up winning despite some of the issues with the kicker there, Michael Badgley. Just did not want to put that game away. But Justin Herbert, obviously the story here, Noto, looked good again. I know he had a down week or two, but he was back over 300 yards, a couple touchdown passes, and throwing to guys that we've really never even heard of, guys like Johnson, Guyton. So we'll see if they get healthy. Williams, Allen back. Hunter Henry obviously looked good in that game. Eckler. So a lot of weapons here for the Chargers. So break this one down, Chargers and Broncos.
So for the Chargers, they're favorites this week. They've won 2 games in a row, and then they're going to face the Chiefs next week, who don't have a lot to play for. They might end up resting their starters. So if they win their last 4 games, does Anthony Lynn keep his job?
That's a great question. I think so. I think you're going to keep him intact, but frustrating because this team could be much better than what they are, and here we are. But the franchise is in place. I mean, Justin Herbert has been incredible. So.
Yeah, I mean, simple clock management. They could be, 10-6 at the end of the year. But
every year, this is the Chargers. It's like the Falcons blowing games. The Chargers are always a disappointment.
I mean, that'd be worst case scenario for Herbert and all the Chargers fans.
Yep. Anyway, I love the passing attack for this one. The Broncos, they were without their top 5 cornerbacks last week, and we saw the Bills just shred them. So absolutely love the spot for Herbert. And you got to think Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, though, have higher snap rates this week. They're both expected to be limited, and I kind of thought that was more coach speak than anything else, but they weren't out there for a large portion of the game. So I like going back to them. Austin Eckler, he's going to be heavily owned in both parts of the game, but he did miss out on 2 goal line touches. They just love giving Kalen Ballage those 1-yard touchdowns. So that worries me a little bit, but I still think there's upside for Eckler. Broncos side, I mean, Drew Lock's played like 6 good quarters this season. He had the 1 good game against the Panthers, and then he had a big 4th quarter against the Chargers, big 4th quarter against the Falcons. So just hard to trust him in this spot. Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, they're both cheap enough that you can add them to your player pool. But for the most part, it's just the Chargers passing attack for me.
Yeah, I don't get the infatuation with Drew Lock. I kind of said that going into the year. Everyone was so excited about this guy, and he didn't even cross like 230 yards passing in any game. So I know they won some games towards the end of last season, but he just never really stood out to me. I know he was good in college, Chop in Missouri, but a lot of question marks here with Drew Lock in this offense. And that being said, I agree with Derek. I don't really like much on Denver side. I know we get the narrative, Melvin Gordon. Maybe that's of interest, but he's splitting the backfield with Lindsey. It's all Chargers for me here in this one, Chop. What do you think?
Yeah, well, some of mine, I'm going to say infatuated with Drew Lock, but some of the things I liked about him headed into the year was that receiving core. Like he was going to get Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler out of the draft. Noah Fant, I thought, could be one of the best tight ends, and we haven't seen Cortland Sutton all year long. So thought he had a good receiving core. Didn't really turn out to be like that. And he's very mediocre at best, and keeps me away from Denver's offense all around. So I probably don't want that. I'm really leery. I like Justin Herbert, like him a lot, like Austin Eckler to catch a ton of passes like he does, but I'm really leery on the way they used Mike Williams and Keenan Allen last week. And I know they're slightly banged up, but I don't know if it was because they were banged up or they're just trying to look at all kinds of different guys in the receiving core and figure things out. So I'm really leery of what they're going to do moving forward with the receiving core. But with that being said, Justin Herbert's he's a really good quarterback, man. You got to fire him up every week now.
All right, betting pick, Chargers -3.5 here, 48.5 on the total.
Oh boy, they had to throw that hook in there, man, to make it really tough. But I'm going to go with the Chargers here.
I am going to go under. Doesn't feel great, but nothing really stands out here. I have concerns with that Denver offense. So neither defense is playing outstanding, but I'm still going to go under 48.5. Derek.
Give me the Chargers.
All right, 2 games left here on the DFS OGs podcast. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We got the Rams up next. The conspiracy theories, Chop. Heard you talking about Pops, talking about the Rams. Maybe you want to break that one down a little bit, but lose to the Jets. Also lose Cam Akers. He'll be out here. So the first question on the Rams. We know they're going to bounce back here. A big game here with Seattle, but any interest in a Darrell Henderson at 4,500, Malcolm Brown at 4,000 in Seattle, got it done in Washington. Kind of a ho-hum total here, 47.5, but a close spread, a stackable game. But Chop, that question, which Rams running back, if any, stand out here with Akers out?
I don't think any, if we're being honest. I don't think any. That was a really putrid performance from the Rams. Don't know why or how that happened. But I guess we saw the same thing out of Pittsburgh on the next day. So I guess it just happens sometimes, but that was bad. I have more interest in Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, maybe even Tyler Higbee around the goal line to catch another touchdown or two, and Jared Goff, rather than force in a running back that if I leaned one, it would be Darrell Henderson, but I'm just not sure they want to give that backfield to anybody without Cam Akers there. So I'm going to be more on the passing game with those guys. And it's simple for me. Kupp is a DraftKings play. Woods is more of a FanDuel play. That's kind of how I differentiate them. Otherwise, they're like the same level right there. So, and the Seahawks, boy, this is a tough one. Their offense hasn't looked as good lately. The Rams defense is going to be a little bit frustrated. So I got a feeling they're going to show up and play this game hardcore from the first snap. And they've been very tough against wide receivers, so it's not an easy matchup for Metcalf and Lockett and the boys. It's just a little bit tougher. Maybe this is our Chris Carson week where he falls in the end zone 2-3 times and is a slate winner. So I don't mind Chris Carson, but I'm tempering my expectations on the passing game.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Rams. The prices are attractive on those running backs, but I think they'll both get work. It's not a great matchup with Seattle. The defense is playing a lot better. I think the receiver's the way to go here, and it's a great point on the Woods Kupp debate. I know a lot of people kind of struggle with that, but Robert Woods' usage in the running game, kind of reminiscent of a Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson comparison. So great call there. But those guys, even at those price points, not a great history with Seattle, looking at some of the numbers, but I do think the passing game, the way to go. And in Seattle, Derek, it's pretty easy. It's Metcalf continues to get it done. Do we get any Tyler Lockett here? Is this a Russell Wilson week? And I like the Carson call by Chop. So you're up here, Rams and Seattle.
Yeah, I don't mind the Chris Carson call for the Seahawks. They've been running the ball a lot more than they did at the start of the season. In their first matchup, Metcalf only got 4 targets, being locked down with Jalen Ramsey. We've seen him beat some really good cornerbacks at times this season, but if Wilson isn't going to throw his way, maybe that opens the door for Tyler Lockett, who has pretty much been a disappointment since he had that one big game, like week 5 or something like that. So don't have a ton of interest in the Seahawks, and you guys nailed it with the Rams. The game script favors a passing game. The matchup favors a passing game. Akers being out favors a passing game. So really like the spot for Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Jared Goff. If I had to choose a running back, I'd probably go Malcolm Brown just because he's a little bit of a better pass catcher than Henderson. And, maybe they're playing from behind in this one.
All right, Derek, we got Seattle -1.5, 47.5 on the total.
This is a tough one. I'm going to take Seattle at home.
I'm going to go the over here. I think both teams do enough to cross the 20-point mark, and that should get them over the 47.5. Chop.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Over.
All right, let's wrap it up. Last game here for week 16. We got Philly and Chop's Cowboys. Philly small favorites here. Injuries on the Philly side. Jalen Reagor, questionable. Dallas side, we saw Zeke sit out in a huge game by Tony Pollard. I know that was another key cog for you there, Chop. So we'll see what happens there. We also saw Michael Gallup score a touchdown and then get injured and leave that game. So Zeke, Gallup, questionable on the Dallas side coming off that win against the 49ers. So Noto, we'll go to you, buddy, to wrap it up here. Pretty close spread, pretty high total, crossing 50. 2 teams that desperately need this game. We've seen the emergence of Jalen Hurts, and Philly acts like they shocked anybody. Like they came out and named him the starter again. Well, no shit. Like you're going to go back to Carson Wentz coming off these performances from Jalen Hurts. So Hurts was big for Chop last week. Another good matchup here for Dallas. What are we doing with Jalen Hurts? I think is the main question here, Derek.
So, look, he hasn't looked great in the passing game in terms of his efficiency, but he has unlocked this offense, and obviously him being able to run the ball the way he does has just done so many things for his fantasy production. 23 and 41 fantasy points in his first 2 starts. Then he gets to face a Cowboys team that is dead last in rushing yards allowed per game at 162. We think the Texans' run defense is bad, and they're only allowing 150 per game. So definitely a good matchup for Hurts again. Priced up to 7,000. I like that they definitely hiked this price up. Now you have to think about it. Still like him. Also have interest in Miles Sanders. Over 80% of the snaps in each of the last 2 games. I know the touches haven't exactly been there with Hurts, dominating the running game, but great matchup, and it's certainly a spot for Sanders to get going. And the fact that he's 7,000 too could help lower his ownership. So those would be the 2 I'd look to for the Eagles. Cowboys, if Zeke's out, Tony Pollard becomes a great play once again. I think he's the better back of the 2 at this point. And if Zeke's out, then he's going to have very little competition for touches. And then it sounds like Gallup's going to be out as well. So I like Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. I think it's a good spot to stack this game. And, the winner could have a shot at the division if Washington ends up losing.
Yeah, it's crazy as it sounds. That's all these teams are still in the mix. It's unbelievable. But I'm glad you brought up Miles Sanders. That's one of my favorite plays of the week. And not only is it a good matchup, you mentioned the rushing yards, but I think a lot of people are going to go to Jalen Hurts. And we never see quarterback ownership, get out of control. We have Mahomes. We have Lamar Jackson. We have some guys that are going to eat up some ownership. But I think Hurts at that price point, coming off that game in this matchup, is really going to be the focus for people. So you get a nice little leverage going to Miles Sanders, who is going to have no ownership, but I just like pivoting in that direction. So, Chop, we'll go to you here. You get to talk Jalen Hurts. We get to talk your Cowboys. Wrap us up here, Eagles and Cowboys.
Well, it's a real, Jalen Hurts has come in and had some pretty good matchups here, and this is another one. So, but I got to give a little shout out. I know you guys know the Takeover, DFS the Takeover. He's been around forever, man.
Oh, yeah.
I used to play with him back in Snap Draft days. He's I talk to him all the time. He's got this saying. It's water levels out, right? Or water finds its. I'm going to say water levels out. It'll always level out no matter what you do and shake it up. And earlier in the year, the Dallas defense, terrible. Everybody, historically bad defense. And they said the same thing about Seattle. And those 2 defenses are kind of guiding their act together. And Seattle's actually, been kind of tough to pass on lately, to be honest with you. I don't know what that's all about. And then you see Pittsburgh, who was historically great earlier, and now they're kind of watering out. They're balancing out now. So it just happened. So it's not like as great of a matchup as I think it was earlier in the year, but he should still be able to take advantage of it. But he's the one guy, or there's like maybe 2 guys in the NFL. And when I build a lineup, I don't feel the need to pair them with a wide receiver or tight end or anybody. I don't. Jalen Hurts is one of them. The other probably Cam Newton, and borderline with Lamar Jackson. Although I like 2 of his targets. I like Mark Andrews. I like Marquise Brown all the time. So I do end up pairing him. But you don't have to pair Jalen Hurts. He's going to get his on the ground, and when he does pass, he's going to spread it out. He has shown no desire to find a number 1 wide receiver. He's going to spread it all out, all over. So you don't have to pair him with anybody. So a guy that you put that in your build rules in lineup HQ, that he's one of the guys you don't need to pair with anybody. With that being said, like Jalen Hurts, like Miles Sanders, and I'm not touching a wide receiver in this game because there's just no rhyme or reason to it right now. So I'm going to pass on that. Dallas, if Pollard is out again, if Elliott's out again, I like Pollard again. If Elliott's back, I don't have an interest in Elliott. He's just not as sharp as Pollard right now. But if the secondary has injuries again, like they did last week, I'll go back to Amari Cooper and maybe even a little CeeDee Lamb. But we'll see what the injury looks like in the Eagles secondary. That's a big swing for me right there.
Yeah, I love going to those Dallas receivers, especially if Gallup is out. Cooper's down to 5,700, Lamb 5,300. Both these guys statistically have been much better at home. Cooper, you get a longer sample size of him being better at home. And Philly secondary is beat up, like you said. And even if Slay is back, I will continue to say it. I've said it for years. This guy is overrated. Yes, he's good. He's not a shutdown corner. So a great way to run it back, whether you go Hurts, whether you go Sanders, maybe you go both. I agree with your point on not having to stack him, but these Dallas receivers certainly in play. And Pollard, if he's in there, yes, I'm interested, and I agree completely. Zeke, just I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's uninterested in playing. I don't know if he got his money, and he's going to be one of those guys that is just never as good as he used to be, but zero interest if it is Zeke. Pollard looked electric, looked like a guy that had something to prove, and it's got to sting a little bit, Chop, that they could have just not paid Zeke this money, let Pollard be the running back, and you spend that money elsewhere, but going to be hampered with that contract, unfortunately. So let's get the last betting pick here of the week, Chop. We have Philly -2, 49.5 on the total.
Well, first off, somebody will take that contract, right? Somebody will trade for him because there's goofy enough GMs that somebody will take it, I think. But I think that's Jerry's boy, man, so we don't want to trade him. But as far as this pick, like Derek said earlier about the Jags, you got to life hedge it a little bit, right? So because the Philadelphia Eagles are Zazzy's team, and I got to hear this garbage from Zaz all week long and when the Eagles win. So I'm going to take the Eagles here just to kind of hedge myself a little bit.
Oh, he's not going to want to hear that. Nobody wants you on the same side as their team. They want you on the other side.
I hope I jinx them, man.
Yeah, the early Tuesday jinx from Chop. I like it. I'm going to take your Cowboys here. Not the jinx you here, but I think they win this game. So I'll gladly take the 2 points or even a little sprinkle on the money line. Derek, wrap us up here with your pick, Philly and Dallas.
Yeah, it feels like a pick'em game to me. I know the 2 points isn't going to do much for me, but give me the Cowboys.
All right, so I have 2 consensus picks again. Unless I missed something, I have us down for Chicago -7.5 and Washington -2. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, that's all I heard.
Okay, yeah. So another little 2-teamer was successful last week. So again, if you play that, hit us up on Twitter. Always interested to see how you guys do with those. But guys, final thoughts here. We obviously had a lot to talk about here. Chop's big day, week 16. Christmas is around the corner. You want to talk anything holidays? What's the holiday plan? We'll wrap us up here. Derek, we'll go to you first, buddy. Get us out of here.
Yeah, no big holiday plans for me. My sister just tested positive for COVID, so family plans are canceled. Well, hey, I'm going to get to stay at home, drink some mimosas on Christmas. That's going to be just fine. Yeah, for football, my favorite stack of the week, look, Mahomes is right there with Aaron Rodgers as a favorite to win the MVP, so I like him. And then Kelsey's battling for the receiving title. A tight end hasn't won that in a long time, so I like both of them to go off in this game. Plus, there's no CEH, and bring that back with Gage or Ridley.
There you go. Yeah, holiday. I mean, my wife's family is adamant on getting together for the holidays, and both her parents are the greatest of health and a little bit older. And it's like, why are you guys insisting on trying to put your parents in the grave? I mean, what are we doing here? So I'm fighting that fight. We'll see if I win it or not. Not looking good as of now, but plan is to get together, a little brunch, a little separation. Mask sounds terrible. I'd rather stay at home, drink them mimosas, Derek, watch some NBA, watch a little football. So I got a few days of battle here, Chop. But what's the holiday plans for you? And any final thoughts here on the slate?
Yeah, I'll throw a stack out there real quick. Trubisky to Robinson. I think I could just, based on what Allen Robinson's about to do, I think he's going to be pretty baller. So I'll take those 2 guys. My holiday plans, man. See, we shoot this thing on a Tuesday, so we're about 3 days from Christmas. Guys, my holiday plans are all thrown in flux this year because tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, 2 days before Christmas, 1 day before Christmas Eve, I got to go in for a surgery, man. I got to go. I'm getting old, man. I got to go get my gallbladder removed.
Oh.
Unreal. I know, right? It's terrible. It's just crazy stuff. But it was either now or I would have had to wait like after Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Then they're booked up that next. So I'd had to wait another 3 or 4 weeks. And this thing hurts, man. So I'm going to get it out. So that's when I got to get it out is beforehand, before Christmas. I got to do it. So that's going to mess everything up. I'm not going to be able to really get over there and see people and do all that. So it is what it is, man. But I'm still looking forward to laying around on the couch, watching a lot of sports, football, basketball on Christmas Day, having fun all weekend. It should be all good, guys. So, it's all good. I appreciate all the good thought. I didn't get a chance to like answer everybody on Twitter and say thanks, but anybody who said anything nice, I appreciate it. Anybody who criticized me for the correlations in my lineup, that's too bad for you, but that's all right. I forgive you.
I mean, that's been the story of the season. So some crazy lineups, but I saw some correlations in there. I mean, Hurts and Hopkins, that was brilliant. But Chop, we hope everything goes well with the surgery. And I always love how any kind of medical appointment, they're like, well, we can get you in now, or we have an appointment in March of 2037. Like, okay, I'll take now, I guess. But yeah, hope everything goes well there. And to everybody out there, just want to say thank you for listening and supporting the podcast again. I have some big news coming. I was hoping for more of an update for you guys here, but we will get you more info as that comes in. But happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever it is you celebrate, do it safely. And if you can't spend time with family, friends, maybe you can get on the old Zoom, do a Zoom, but should be a fun day of sports, meals, family, friends, whatever it may be. So again, thank you for the support for the pod. Enjoy the holidays, guys. Appreciate doing the show with you guys as always. So Merry Christmas to you guys and your family. Chop, again, congratulations, well deserved. Just one of the best, man. Just been doing it for so long, and love to see it. So keep kicking butt. Noto, you and I will get that million here soon. If it's not this week, hopefully somewhere down the line here, maybe some NBA. Don't forget, get over to RotoGrinders and check out our great NBA coverage. I know Noto puts a lot of work into that. So that's it, guys. Any final words, or we were out of here? Anything else?
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yeah, happy holidays.
All right. So for Notorious, for Chop, I am Beer saying salut. Happy holidays. Thank you, as always, for listening to the DFS OGs podcast here on RotoGrinders.com, and we'll see you next week.